All right. I brought in a set of the Russian stackable dolls. I was talking about these at the beginning of this series that I started a few weeks ago, and someone at another studio had an extra set and gifted them to me. So I'm super excited to have them, and I'll use them kind of as a prop for the rest of the series. So all of these stack into the larger doll here. And there's actually 6, but I only have 5 out right now because we're talking about the 5 koshas. And the koshas are talked about in the Upanishads, one of the ancient texts found in India. And it talks about the layers or the casings or the coverings around the soul. So if you look at the koshas, a kosha means sheath, layer, casing, something of that nature. And each one is getting more and more subtle, just like each one of these has to get smaller, smaller, smaller. So the densest layer is the outermost layer, what we call the food body or the physical body. And then we have the second layer, which is more subtle than that, which is the energy body or the breath body. And we talked about breath, sun, and food being the primary sources of the energy that fuels and animates the mind and the body. The third one we talked about last week is the Manomaya kosha, or the mental layer, the mind stuff. The mind stuff is just the inner ramblings of the mind. So it's the thoughts, it's the memories, it's the fantasies, it's our dreams, what we envision, the insights that we gain. Even emotion is tied up with the third layer. And then we have the fourth layer, which is what we're going to talk about today. And it is even more subtle than just the mind stuff. And that layer is called the layer of discernment, the layer of higher wisdom, or the intuitive knowing of the mind. So we know that when the mind is really ramped up, when we're really stressed out, when it's super hyperactive, it's hard to tap into this layer here, because it's on overdrive and we're not really even connected typically to our bodies and to our hearts. And the heart has been shown scientifically to be the true intuitive center. We just receive the message in the brain. So let's just go back to that. This mental layer is not limited to the brain. The brain is just an organ. The mind is actually all through the body. Think about science shares that memory is held in the body. There are neurons that are actually embedded in the heart itself. So because we use all of these layers through our yoga practice, so for the grossest layer, for the densest layer, we use physical postures because we want to keep the body healthy. We want to keep it strong. We want to keep it flexible. We want to keep it cleansed and purified. The second layer, we do this with being more mindful of the foods that we're eating, making sure that they hold a lot of life force, maybe a little bit more organic or a little bit more fresh, not necessarily something that's been cooked and been sitting in the refrigerator for a week and then it gets snooped in the microwave, right? Total difference. Same thing with using pranayama. We use pranayama to feed the second layer. The mind stuff is going to be able to slow down and calm down for us to receive those intuitive messages anytime that we get really grounded, when we get more heart-centered, and when we're in that calmer state with our nervous system. So when we're practicing yoga, we typically come in a little frazzled or hurried or whatever, right? We're in the sympathetic nervous system. And then through the practices that we do here on the mat, we're leading ourselves to the parasympathetic nervous system, which will lead us to this layer here. And that's where we're really and truly trying to go. And then, of course, that helps when we're on the mat to translate off the mat times that we need it. And then we can bring in these tools and techniques to lead us there. If you study the philosophy of yoga, this would correlate with this layer, because this layer is about discernment. So with it being about discernment, it's about discovering what is right or wrong, good or bad for us individually. I made a statement yesterday in our workshop on resetting the pandemic mind. And this is not to be political whatsoever. It's just to make you think about it. This mental layer here is all about, well, let's all don the mask, let's all get vaccinated, let's all protect each other, right? Let's do what needs to be done. And then this layer here is what is sometimes looked over, I feel like, through all of this madness that we've been dealing with. This layer here is the layer of discernment, the layer of intuitive knowing. Our intuition is going to be based on our personal truths. And so I think this is why we really need to respect those that are not saying no for political reasons. They're saying no because their body is telling them, no, this isn't good for me. We're all different and we all respond to medicines different. And so I feel like as yogis, we need to learn how to respect that if it's not based on some political issue, you know, because we all have to live by our intuitive knowing and what's really right for us. So let's go ahead and start in a prone position. And this is going to be a passive crocodile pose where the feet are splayed apart. The chest is lifted up. The arms are crossed. And then you're spilling down to the third eye. When you take this shape, notice how as you lower your head and close your eyes, you tend to be withdrawing away from the room, everyone here, and the world around. Becoming more internal this way is a helpful tool to tap in to our own intuitive knowing. So we're not influenced by anyone or anything around us. Pay attention to the outermost layer. Feel the contact of the feet lightly resting on your mat. And notice how it gets heavier in the frontal part of your thigh. Even heavier when you focus at your belly. So hopefully you can tell from the pubic bone area, mixed in with the lower belly and the hip bones, this is the primary foundation for this posture. Feel the weight at your brow, which helps to penetrate and stimulate the acupressure point here, which is a calming technique for the mind. And then relax all the muscles. If your low back feels a little tight, try splaying the feet wider or rocking the hips from side to side. And then let it go. Now moving into the second layer, incorporate some conscious breath work. Breathing in and breathing out fully through the nose. Feel the belly swell on the in-breath. Empty on the out-breath. And as you continue to breathe in a diaphragmatic way, perhaps noticing the effect it has upon the physical layer, as well as the mental layer, the layers above and below. On your next in-breath, let's gently begin to lift the head up. Walk the feet closer together. Slide the elbows up underneath the head of the shoulder bones. Get the arms parallel to each other. Lengthen through the thighs, shins, top portions of the feet. Root heavily down through the forearms and jet the heart up. Lift the crown of the head up and find a particular angle for the neck. Someone's about to go. Oh, and she saw we were. Just didn't want you to be alarmed if you heard it. As you're holding the Sphinx pose, know that you're helping to strengthen the low back, tighten and firm up your glutes. Take one last deep breath. And as you exhale, gently slide the elbows away, come down to the forehead. Slide your hands up underneath your shoulders, push up to table, rock back into extended child's pose. Now from extended child's pose, keep the elbows floating up, that you gain some traction through your spine and gain some length through the underside of the arms. The head may hover. Please don't force it all the way to the floor. And then affirming here as you hold that our prayers for all of mankind live in harmony and in peace. All right, we're going to take a little bit more of a flow here. So as you inhale, stay stacked on your knees and shins. Rock forward into a modified upward facing dog. Exhale, rock back into child. We're going to do that a couple more rounds. Inhale, come forward. Stay stacked on the stilts of the arms. Lengthen through the side of your neck. And then exhale, back to child. One more. This time on the exhale, curl your toes and roll back into downward facing dog. When you're in downward facing dog, look at the space between the big toes and let there just be a few inches in between. Grounding the hands and the feet and sailing your seat as skyward and as high as possible. So the heels are actually levitating up away from the mat. Now we're going to walk out the dog here. So bend the right knee and drop low through your left calf and heel. Good, swap sides. Bend your left knee, rock down with your right calf and heel. And then gently lower back to your knees. Press the hips back towards your heels. Walk the hands over to the right side of the mat. And bow over your lap. And taking a side bend. Stretch out through the left side waist. Open up the side intercostals. Breathe into that left lung. Feel it inflate. Feel that side picking up a little higher as you breathe in. Deflating and lowering as you breathe out. The deeper the breath, the more you'll experience that fluctuation. The more subtle the breath, the more subtle the sensation. Inhale, gently lift the head and the heart. Walk your hands over and across to the left side. And bow out. Open up a clear channel of the breath, because that affects the mind and allows the mind stuff to slow down, to calm down, so that you can hear and connect to your intuition. Inhale, lift the head and the heart, walk your hands back to the sticky mat, rock up to hands and knees, exhale, return to downward facing dog. From Adho Mukha Svanasana, walk your hands back towards your toes, land your heels to the mat. Feel free to soften your knees. And kind of nod your head, yes or no, or a blend. With every out breath, try to make sure that your arms are not locking or blocking the spine from lengthening downward. And imagine your heart has a magnet that's being attracted towards another magnet down towards your knees. You're not pulling with your arms, you're just trying to do the internal work. On your next in-breath, root down through the soles of the feet, sweep the arms to your sides and up overhead. See if your palms can come together for upward worship. Being thankful for this layer, even though it's subtle, it's very important, and the soul relies upon it. As you exhale, bring your hands straight down through the middle, gently fold again to your Uttanasana, your standing forward position, and walk out on your hands to form plank. So just meditationally walking from your wrist to the mound of the hands to the fingertips until you have this position where you are long and strong. Thighs plucking up, heart radiating forward, head still lifted. All right, as you exhale, let's lower down to the knees. Let's rock forward with the torso and come back down to the abdomen. All right, this is why we didn't want the blocks in front of us. So the hands are gonna rest on the low back and come to the forehead. Lengthen the legs back, close the feet more together, and inhale, lift your right hand, circle it out in front of you, lifting your head, chest, and shoulders. Good. Exhale, come back down. Inhale, circle the left arm in front, lifting up like half locust. Exhale, release. Inhale, right arm. Exhale, swim it back. Inhale, left arm. Exhale, take it back. One more to each. Release the hands below the shoulders, push up to table, and then you may have to walk your hands back just a smidge to stack them with precision under the shoulders. All right, now drop the tailbone, scoop in and up through the belly, hang the head chin towards the chest. Holding your cat stretch as a counter. And then soften and relax the back. All right, this is where we're gonna use the blocks, if you want to use blocks. So your blocks will make it a little bit more gentle in nature. Hands on the blocks out in front of you so that you can step your right foot forward. And you're dropping and sinking through the hips. All right, we're gonna walk the blocks back. Flex the right foot. Pausing as you hang out over that side to open the hamstrings. So yesterday was the first day of spring. We've entered Aries. And Aries is the first zodiac sign on the wheel, at least in Western astrology. And Aries is all about taking action, initiating leadership. And spring is about springing forward. And there are, well, I think all 9 planets are going direct until May. So this is a perfect time to take action towards something that maybe is something new that you're wanting to explore. A good time for manifestations. So affirm here to yourself, I choose to dwell with an infinite possibilities. All right, we're going to walk the blocks back as we lower the right foot. We're going to turn the back toes under, and we're going to straighten out the front leg and spin down to the left heel. What is referred to often as pyramid pose. If your back heel doesn't drop to the mat, you can pop it forward. Now slide your right hip towards the back of your mat and roll your left hip towards the front of the mat. You may be flexible enough to use your hands, doesn't matter. All right, we're going to lift the right toes and arch away from the floor. And then we're lowering the foot back down. We're going to do that a couple more times. Inhale, pick up the right foot to stay on your heel. And exhale, re-land. You'll do that once more. The next time you sink to the sole of the foot, go ahead and lower the head and the heart. And then we're going to challenge ourselves here. But before we bring in the challenge, I want you to really glue your back foot firmly down. Notice when you do that, it's going to fire up the muscles through your back leg more. That's what we want. Now take the weight of your hands off the block. Apply pressure through the front foot as well. Reach the arms forward. Hang out about halfway. And then slowly build up. Stacking each vertebra. Good. When you're ready, we're going to hinge over again, pausing at that halfway point. But then we're going to take the arms back behind us so the fingertips are reaching towards the back wall. Feel those shoulder blades kind of cinching in towards the spine. And then lower your hips. Good. Lunge the front knee, wiggle the left toes back. Inhale, straighten the front leg, staying on the ball of the back foot. Exhale, lunge the knee. Good, do that twice more. Inhale, straighten out, standing forearm of split. Exhale, lunge the knee. Good, one more. And then sink the back knee, untuck the back toes, and bring the right knee back to joint. All right, swing that left foot forward. Sink down through the hips and pelvis. And again, the blocks can change heights. You may not need blocks at all. So it's okay to just drop your hands to the floor. All right, when you're ready, we're gonna take half splits. Half Hanumanasana. So at first you may just be focused on form and shape in that outermost layer. And then it starts to become more subtle. You start to notice sensation. And then you may notice a feeling. You may notice your breath, the energy opening up. Maybe a thought passing through. You only hold on to that thought if it pertains to the now, or if it holds that little nugget of wisdom, which is stemming from the layer we're talking about today. Affirming as you hold, I choose to dwell within infinite possibilities. All right, now that we've warmed up that those hamstrings, come back to the sole of the foot to bring the blocks forward with. Curl the back toes, you're slowly lifting the back knee, slowly straightening out the back leg, and pressing down with the right heel. Finding the position or the height of the blocks that you personally need, and then you're going to square the hips. Left hip sliding back, right hip rolling towards the front. And then go ahead and lift your left toes, lift the arch. Good, exhale to send back to the toes. Slow movement, inhale, creating that dorsiflexion. And then exhale, reland. Good, one more. And then bow over. Let go. The edge on this side may be different than where you needed to be on the previous side. Recognizing that, honoring that, is using the layer that we're talking about this week. The layer of discernment. Now apply more pressure down to the back foot, plug the right thigh back, slowly start to lift, take the hands off the blocks, reach the arms in front of you. Notice how much power and strength is relied in the lower body to maintain this. And then inhale, slowly come up. When you come up, even feel the stretch in the back calf muscles. And then when you're ready, you're going to hinge, reaching out halfway, but then we're going to change the position of the arms. The arms are now going to line up behind us. Shoulders kind of squeezing towards the spine. Palms face each other. Gazing down, Padyogram Drishti, gazing towards your toes. And then lower the hands. Good. Lunge the front knee, wiggle the right toes back. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Exhale, lunge the knee. And do that a couple more rounds. Now, instead of bringing the knee down this time, we're actually going to step the right foot forward. You can lose the blocks a moment and bow over the lower body. Returning to this pose, Uttanasana. Press down through the four corners of each foot. Get your calves engaged, your knees, your quads engaged. And on your next in-breath, you're going to sweep the arms to your sides and up overhead. Coming into that upward worship position. And then exhale, bring hands down to the heart. All right, we're going to stack the hands onto the waist. We're going to stack the weight onto the left leg. And we're going to experiment here. Tap your right big toe forward. And slowly lift it up without touching the tailbone. Gauge the height of the leg. Now, hinge from the knee. Let the quads relax. Pick up the knee. And now try to straighten the leg again. Maybe you took it up to a higher level. Don't worry if you can't. It's okay if it drops. And exhale, release. All right, when you're ready, tap the left big toe forward and just lift it up. See how far you can get without force, without causing a cramp. Set your drishti, your focal point, your eyes at one placement. bend the knee. Elevate the knee, re-stretch the leg. And now, round that foot. Lean your weight back into the left side. Pick up the right knee. This time you're going to catch it with your hand and you're going to flex that right ankle. I'm going to balance and breathe. From Padangusthasana A, open the hip to B. From B, bring it back to A. And lower it down. Okay. Right hand to the hip. Stack and stand on the right leg. Picking up the left foot. Tagging it with the hand. Once you cup the knee, flex the foot. Padangusthasana A, take it to B. From B, bring it back to A. All right, back of the hands are going to face the front of the room. Be grounded on your left foot. Inhale, the arms float up and the right knee will lift. As you exhale, you're going to step back with the right foot. Take the arms back behind. Inhale, bring the arms forward and up. Re-lift the right knee. And this time you're going to hold the knee. It was blissful, we keep going. See if you can lift and squeeze a little higher, perhaps. And then release. All right, back of the hands face the front. When you're ready, landing line down the right leg, uplifting the left knee. When you're ready, take it back. Inhale, bring it back to where you started. And then hold and lift and hug the knee in. Different than Padangusthasana A. And release. Awesome. All right, separate your feet. We're coming down like a squat. If you need a block to sit on, use it. Even if you don't always use a block to sit on, sometimes it's just nice. Couple deep breaths. Ready? We're going to bring the block out and we're going to lower it down to a seat, but we're going to keep the knees bent. Now your feet are not going to be so closely knit to the body. You're going to have the feet further away. Okay. We're going to do a couple different things here. The first thing is we're going to take the hands down to the floor, fanning the fingers out to point towards the legs, and then we're going to slip and slide them underneath. Now watch what I do. I lean to one side to continue to cross the arm under the other knee, and then you're going to bow your head. So this is the more gentle way to do Karmasana, which is tortoise. And we're trying to round the back so that we have the shape of a tortoise shell. Inhale, lift your head up. Exhale, bow the head down. We're going to do that a couple more times. Inhale, it's like the head of the tortoise is coming out of the shell, seeing if it's safe to come out. And then exhale, release. One more. This time when you inhale, lift the head up, the hands slide back to your center, and you're gonna lengthen out through the legs and flex through the ankles. On your in-breath, you're gonna elongate the spine, and you're gonna try to tip forward, keeping the length and that kind of flat back that you created. And you're just going down to your degree of flexibility. And Heather, you're so low, you can extend your arms out, which will help not only lengthen the back, but it'll activate your hamstrings more. Just be cautious your feet don't roll in. Keep the toes turned up. Elaine, you can do the same thing. You can stretch out your arms. Pushing down to the back of the thigh bones. Pose called Konasana wide angle. Affirming, I accept everything that comes my way as an opportunity for more growth. Inhale slowly back on up. Once you back up, we're taking the hands under the knees and we're sliding the feet back in. All right, the left arm is going to hang to the inside of the left knee. And then as you inhale, you're sweeping that right arm out and up. Pausing here. Now, even though you're leaning towards the left thigh, can you elevate your chest a little higher? Exhale, bring the right arm down. Stack that shoulder to the inside of the knee. Flip the palms open and sweep the left arm out of that. Staying rooted on your seat, lifting your chest, flying the fingertips towards the heavens. And exhale, release the hand down. We're going to transfer to hands and knees. So since we're coming to hands and knees, check in if you need more padding. Feel free to add in that blanket. We're going to work with the twist again, but in this shape. So the first thing I want you to do is push down through your feet and shins so that you feel the lower belly kind of hug in. And then flip your left palm open, circle it off to the left side. And then as you exhale, lower the head, thread the hand through. Not all the way. Inhale, taking it out into the twist. Exhale. Hand goes under. One more. Inhale, arm sweeps up. This time we are going to slide it through and drop down towards the left ear. Thread the needle pose. It's okay to use your right hand in front of your face to apply pressure to the floor to roll more towards the left shoulder blade. If you want the extra. It's okay to change the position of the right arm if you want to loop it behind your back, if you want to sail it out in front of you. Inhale, unwind. Once you back to tabletop position, ground your shins. Ground that left hand, flip your right palm open. Sweep it out and up. Exhale, crisscross it over. Inhale, open the twist. Exhale, light thread. Inhale, last one. This time, thread it all the way under. And sink down towards the right ear. Pushing away from the left hand. Or changing the position of the left arm. Breathing into the back side of that right lung. Breathing into that space between thoughts, so there's less rambling, more clarity. Inhale, unwind. All right, we're gonna come down to our backs, and you are going to want a block. So make sure you find one of those. It's in hand's reach. And once you roll down to your back, your knees are going to start off bent, arms beside you. As you inhale, the arms are going to lengthen overhead, and your left leg is going to extend out in front of you. And then as you exhale, you're bringing the arms back around to hug the left knee towards you. Inhale, arms overhead, left leg extends. Exhale, hug in. 3 more. Use your breath to create a nice rhythm to your movement. After this next one, once you hug the knee in, you're going to set that foot back down to the mat. Inhale, arms overhead, right leg extends. We'll stay on this right side. Exhale, and close the knee to the chest. Continue that flow of movement. Couple more. Last one. And then sink down with your right foot. Arms are going to land beside you, palms facing downward. Inhale, lifting into bridge, Setu Bandhasana. Feel how your hamstrings, your glutes, and your back have to fire up to keep you away from that pull of gravity. And then exhale, lower down 1 vertebra at a time. Going up again. Inhale, tuck the tailbone, the thighs, hips, abdomen, chest. Hold and breathe. Exhale, release. Power of 3. We're coming up 1 more round. Inhale, lifting up. Keep your thighs more narrow. This time, however, find your block. And I want you to find the position, low, medium, or high, where it easily goes underneath your sacrum, and then you can sit upon it. Now flip your palms open. Fan them slightly away from your body. We're going to focus on the right leg, and we're going to float the right foot up in the air. We're going to point the toes, and keep the toes pointed so that you can feel from this action at the gross level how it's affecting the muscles, the stretch in the front of the foot, the muscles that attach to the shin. You may even feel slight tightening through your kneecap. Look how the toes are slightly glued together. This is called plantar flexion. Now create the dorsiflexion. Elevate your heel, pump the heel up, spread the toes, and drop the toes downward. Feel the activation in the calves and the hamstrings, that area behind the knee. And now point, toes come back together. Continue to breathe. Great reflection the other way. Hold, continue to breathe. So we're not pointing and flexing with the breath. We're doing each one for a few rounds of breath. Point again. And then flex. And then gently keep the foot flexed, but you're slowly going to lower the leg down to the mat. Straight, straight, straight leg, right leg straight. Drop to the heel. Now relax the foot. So you're doing half bridge on the left, full bridge on the right. If that strains your low back whatsoever, use the layer of discernment, rebend the right knee. So if it hurts or causes pain, that's a sign to come out. And only you are getting that message. Because I'm not telepathic that way. And then walk the right foot back. All right, let's take it to the left side. Ground the right foot, sail the left leg in the air. And just point the toes initially. Again, noticing the experience here. And then the dorsiflexion. What's the experience now? Point, breathe. Flex and breathe. Do it one more time. And gently lower the left leg. Stack onto the heel. Soften the rest of the foot. So in blissful, we did a more vigorous flow. We had it a little warmer in temperature so that our muscles could really get warmed up. So we were building up to wheel pose, and we did wheel close to the wall. And then we used the legs to walk up the wall to kick over into a standing position. There's nothing gentle about that. So we're not doing that here. But I want you to know that even bringing in bridge and lifting the leg up would be great preparation for both wheel and kicking over that way, okay? So root the feet, tuck the tailbone, lift away from the block, slide the block away and roll down to the safety. Cross your left ankle over the right knee. Pick up the right foot, lace your hands behind your right thigh. And let this be a nice counter. Feel how the back just flattens down to the earth. But also notice we're working a different area of the hip. Eye the needle pose. Gently release, uncross the left ankle. Now hook the right ankle bone over the left thigh bone. Pick up the left foot. Take that same position to the second side. I want us to get one more twist in before our Shavasana. So let's release our grip. Let's plant both feet. Let's splay open through the arms. Exhale, let the knees roll off to the left. It's okay to pick up the feet to go into a little deeper version of the twist. It's okay to use your hand to hold the knees down in place to go a little deeper into that twist. But use the layer of discernment, use your intuitive knowing, use the messages received from the body to make the proper choice. So, a few years ago when I had to close the studio down, I was very fortunate to only receive 2 really nasty emails. And they were very hateful. They were rough to read. And of course, my emotional status at that point of receiving those emails, I wanted to react and I wanted to defend my integrity. But I didn't. I pulled back. I didn't respond. I sat with it for 3 to 5 days before I was calm enough to respond in a professional manner. And I just want you to know, sometimes when we get triggered, especially if someone's on the attack, then we sometimes have to step back and withdraw away from the person, withdraw away from the situation, withdraw away from the communication in order to refine our center to be able to respond appropriately, where it's not going to get dramatic. And this is what these layers are about, getting away from the mind's emotional stuff so that you can have a much more mature and yogic response. Inhale, draw the knees back through center. And as you exhale, roll the knees over to the right. Again, it's up to you and what you're experiencing on whether or not you want to take it any deeper. Maybe the feet needed to stay on the floor and just rotate. Maybe you wanted to hover the feet and tuck the knees into the chest to make it deeper. Maybe you want the handhold of driving the knees down to make it deeper. And then roll over to the right side. And you're gonna push down through the left hand to pick yourself up. On all of our scattered props. We're gonna create Stonehenge. The blocks are gonna be like the columns. Holding up that bolster. If you are at home doing this, you can use the sofa or chair instead. Something that may be more stable, not as wobbly. Ideally, the crease of your knees are at the edge of the bolster, and the feet will dangle off the edge. Now, we just did experience a full moon since I last saw some of you. It was just a couple days ago. If you have been disrupted with your sleep or sleep deprived, you're welcome to move over to a wall and do legs up the wall, or just remember legs up the wall can be quite medicinal during this time. Let your eyelids turn down, but keep your awareness turned up.
The point of this pose is not to go to sleep. The point of this pose is to stay completely awake. Awake and aware. Awake and ready to be tapped into this layer we're speaking of today. And there may be moments where you drift back into your body, back into breath, back into the mind stuff. But when you get into the mind stuff, that useless mental chatter, you can return to the breath to slow it down, to drop back into the intuitive layer. Practice that now. Go ahead and take 3 more breaths. You ready? Hug the knees in. Roll to one side.
space. So the asana practice is a great prelude for meditation. Kriyas are also a great way to initiate the state of meditation when you drop the movement. It helps to drop you in. Meditation is the ideal way to feed this layer. Even though we're not going to sit and meditate formally today, hopefully you had a moving meditation and maybe you were able to stay focused through Shavasana. Bring your hands now to Anjali Mudra, prayer position at your heart. Om peace, peace, peace. Namaste. The last thing I want to say about this layer that we all have, that sometimes ignore. Well, Beth is now attuned to Reiki, and I know Kimberly is. I don't know if anybody, oh, Heather is too. Heather just got attuned to it. It's really interesting when you're doing practices like Reiki, that's based on this layer, and this is that energetic layer. How focused you have to be as the practitioner. Because if you're not truly focused in the present moment and with that person and with the practice of what you're doing, your mind can ramble just like it can any other time. But if you really get clear and really get grounded and are really focused on that person and you're reading their energy, this layer pipes up. And it's that layer of intuition that's giving you messages, that's giving you images that may not make any sense whatsoever to the person giving the Reiki. But if that person is trusting of what they're receiving and then relays it to the person, it's amazing the feedback that you're going to get back. So I just want to give you a few examples. And these are not from full readings or full sessions. Full sessions are about an hour. This just stems from some of the restorative and Reiki sessions that I've done, where you basically just get 5 minutes with a person. And that's a lot harder because you have to forget about the person you just worked on and get solely focused on now this new person in front of you. And this information would, at any other time, seem somewhat vague to me. And it may seem vague to you until you hear the feedback from the person. So I was giving Reiki to someone in one of those practices, and she was actually over here. I even remember where she was at. And I was working on her, and it was like I was getting pushback in my hands. My hands started to hurt. And all I could feel was pressure, 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 pressure. And at the end of it, when I was like, I didn't get much time with you, all I felt was a lot of pressure. And she started to tear up, and she said, that's because last summer I was crushed by a car, and the car hit me, ran over me, and all I could feel was the pressure of the car on me. I was like, okay, I didn't know what the pressure was, right? It could be any type of pressure. But then she explained it to me, because it was a physical pressure. It wasn't a mental or emotional pressure. It really felt physical. But I didn't know what it meant until she explained it. Another person, it was in the old studio, and I remember she was at this area of the studio in the old space. I was working over her abdomen. And first of all, you have to follow your intuition, because you may be just starting on their head or their feet, but maybe your intuition is calling you to another place. I wasn't working on anyone's stomach, but I felt called to her stomach. And I was hovering over her stomach, and it was like a war zone in her abdomen. And I was dropping the symbols and using the mantras because of so much, like, it felt like nuclear activity. And I didn't know what was going on. I just know what I was feeling. And she said, afterwards, when I was telling her, I was like, something's going on with your inner organs. And she says, I have cancer that has spread. all through my inner organs. I was picking up on it energetically, and I was just using the message, and then it was coming out. And the last one I'll tell you, there was someone in another studio that I was working with, and her throat chakra was completely shut down. And all the messages I was getting was about throat chakra, not speaking up, holding back. And in the end, she was like, I just got engaged a few weeks ago, and I decided I really don't want to be married. I like being single. I don't want to be tied down to one person. And he's coming to visit. This was right before Christmas. He's coming to visit at Christmas, and I'm going to have to tell him that I don't want to hurt him. So you see how it takes this to work with this. So what I'm trying to demonstrate is all of these are important layers and levels, and each one is going to have an influence or an impact upon the other. And at any given point in time, we're kind of floating and mixing in between the layers. But sometimes we get too caught up in the physical, right? The Instagram models, oh my God, so caught up in this layer, right? The super intellectuals, they're all like stuck here in this layer, and they don't know how to have fun and let go. And you have, breatharians who are learning to live without food and are realizing all the nourishment they need can come in through the power of the breath. And so they're working primarily with this one, even though they have a physical body. Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah. It's a real yogic thing. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for coming. Next week, we'll move to this one. Breatharian. Yeah.
So
Look it up.
Is it extreme fast?
It's extreme. Yes, it's extreme.